Socialism with American characteristics. We should see this for what it is. Complete and utter bullshit. I'm sorry, Caleb, but this is complete nonsense. Now, I know for some time you've been really pushing this revisionist line about China being socialist, somehow having billionaires, a symbol of extreme inequality, is somehow socialism, and the market, which is outright anti-socialist, as the market is allocating resources by profitability instead of a rational planning of the economy like it's supposed to do, which would run the opposite of what you claim about China. Oh, it has a state-run economy, also the market. It can't be both. The market is inherently anti-socialist. Now, I shouldn't have to tell anybody that. That's obvious. This idea of socialism with American characteristics, I'm sorry, is nonsense. The first part about this, advocating for the market, is wrong. It's anti-socialist. It's pro-American, I'll give it that. But it runs against socialism. Now, I notice in all of your talks about what socialism in America could look like, I notice one key theme, two key themes over and over. It's all about more stuff, which is not what socialism is about. It's about changing the social relations. It's not about getting as much free stuff as possible. That's materialism, not socialism. That's pretty much as first world as it could get. It's all about getting more stuff and not about reorientating changing human social relations. And there's a reason why you pound this idea of, yeah, we're all going to be billionaires under socialism, or have a billionaire level of consumption, even though it's physically impossible. But then I must include sci-fi technology that's going to take several hundred years to actually develop. That is not what socialism is about. That's not the selling point. Maybe in your mind, in the American mind, that's the only way you're going to reach first world people, particularly Americans, just offer them more stuff. It's the same kind of mentality that the Bernie Sanders sock dem crowd have. Oh, it's about the free education. It's about the free healthcare, which are certainly things that are absolutely essential, not just for socialism, but for human dignity in general. But that's what it's reduced to, is just free stuff. And you're doing the same thing. You do this rather than pushing an economic theory about changing the social relations. No, it's just free stuff. I know you're not against changing the social relations, but that's not what you're selling, and that's not what you're promising people. So the only way I can really interpret this in a way, there's just two ways of seeing this. Either you're incompetent and you don't know what you're saying, or you're lying, specifically omitting social relations in order to sell it to Americans. And to be perfectly honest, you're not stupid. Caleb, you're not dumb. I think you know very well what you're doing. And this is combat liberal time. To see someone have incorrect views, ... And we've always been on good terms. We've never attacked each other personally, or any of that kind of nonsense, or made up lies about each other. But this, what you're propounding now is revisionist garbage. You go to such lengths to promise free stuff to first world people, but you completely ignore the issue of decolonization. And that in itself would probably make you seem racist in the eyes of some people. I know you're not racist, and I would never say that you are racist. You're not. But this ignoring of decolonialism, this ignoring of race on this level, would make it seem that way. There is a problem here that you're not tackling. And I see what you're doing. You're doing the same thing that a lot of Marxists have done in the past, We just get to socialism, and then we'll have the racism thing solved, which theoretically is possible. And not even just is possible, has been done before. And I wholly acknowledge that. But I think the American case is very different. You cannot talk about revolution in America while ignoring race and saying that it is something that will be solved after the revolution. It's going to have to be addressed before then in order to make revolution. And I think the fact that you'll push this, oh, we're all going to be billionaires, and do all kinds of things to appeal to the middle class, to appeal to what is frankly the labor aristocracy, while ignoring the lumpen. And that is a big thing I've seen out of a lot of dingists, including yourself, is just completely ignoring the role of the lumpen. Now, I know Marx said that the lumpen was not revolutionary, and I think he was outright wrong. When you ignore the lumpen, or by proxy do so by just omitting anything that has to do with it, and then keep selling your idea to more privileged people, you are marginalizing the lumpen. I mean, who do you think is really more likely to pick up a gun and fight a communist revolution in America? The middle class guy who already has a construction job at $70,000 a year, 2 trucks, a house, and a pension, or the guy who lives in a trailer barely surviving? I mean, who do you really think is more likely to pick up a gun and fight? Now, I have seen this very mistake that you're making be made before. Mike Eli, the guy who ran Kamisama Project. Now, Kamisama Project was formed out of the people, if my memory serves me correctly, was formed out of the people who left the RCP USA because of the cult of personality that Bob Avakian was trying to push. And there's a lot of other things to be criticized about the RCP. Their plan as the Kamisama Project was to reach the labor aristocracy, the union leaders, the high-ranking union officials like that, and win them over to socialism. Do you know where the Kamisama Project is now? If it even still exists, and the last time I checked, it did, it was drowned by SOCDEMs and trots. The whole website, the whole open discussion forum that they had, became nothing but SOCDEMs and trots. Because the mistake they made was to ignore what Lenin said. Lenin said we must reach the lower and deeper sections of the proletariat. The union leaders aren't. The $70,000 to $100,000 a year union construction workers are not. They have a vested interest in keeping the system the way it is. Although they'll want some nice soft democratic reforms, the school for their kids, the health care for them and their family. But they're not going to advocate revolution. And they won't. And that's the mistake you're using here. You're appealing to essentially the white middle class while ignoring the lumpen proletariat, which is overwhelmingly people of color, and ignoring the issue of decolonialism, which is literally an issue of people of color. And I think that's the mistake you're making here. Not only is your theory pushing pushing the market, which is anti-socialism by any metric. It is anti-socialist. And then you ignore essentially by proxy, ignoring the issue of race in America by marginalizing the lumpen proletariat and the issue of decolonialism. And this finally does need to be said. Caleb, you're wrong here. I know what's happening. You want socialism to happen so bad that you're looking for a way to justify it. Not to justify it. To force something to work even though it isn't. Mao called it cutting the toes to fit the shoes. You want the theory to fit what you want, not having the theory fit what is. Like, you know what I mean? You're trying to force the conditions to fit the theory. No, trying to force the theory to... You know what I'm trying to say. You're trying to make it, to force it in a way that's not an analysis, but you're trying to make it the way you want, rather than doing the analysis to figure out how to get to where you want. And that was a big thing for Mao, cutting the toes to fit the shoes. And I'm sorry to do this publicly, but it's got to be said. Because if I didn't say anything, I'd be guilty of liberalism. So I hope that we can have a conversation about this in the future.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.